Welcome to another episode of Self Mastery Sundays, where we focus on the glue of life, God, love, and you.
The GLU.
And I'm with my brother,
with
the
your
professor
boy, the professor.
of possibility.
Hold it down, POP.
Godly. Man, we took a break. You know, a lot has happened over the last couple of months, and God has blessed my family so much in the last couple of months. And one of them is the birth of my baby girl.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, she has changed me so much in such a short period of time.
Yep. I'd love to hear about when I don't know if it was the doctor or if it was a nurse that handed her to you for the first time.
Okay.
I'd love to hear what you were feeling in that moment.
Shout out to Matt Clemmer, who actually captured that first moment.
Oh.
That drawing that he did. He literally sketched. It was a gift, and it was a surprise gift, but he sketched the first time I held Kaya.
Wow.
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
And it was
drawing.
on like this, it was on this like Dead Sea Scroll type paper.
like parchment. Yeah, there's a word for that. It's called parchment.
I was like, did you get this paper from Egypt? Where did you get this paper? But first of all, before I get to the first time holding her, I seen way more than I needed to see during the process. I told the doctor.
Did you pass out?
Listen, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't have time to pass out. I didn't have time because I told the doctor I did not want to see, I wanted to be on the end where
on the other side.
I want the other side of the paper or the sheet, right? And just I want to see the baby come up.
Yeah.
From Cam gives birth in like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Like there was no time.
Women all over the planet right now are just
right
in anger about like F that girl.
Yeah, and like she goes into labor at 8 a.m.
Wow.
And Kaya is in our arms at 8:28.
Well, didn't that have something to do with the fact that she was dilated to like 7 by the time that
the
you
night
guys
before
walked in the door?
Yeah, it was wild.
She's just like,
it was wild because the night before, me, her, and her mom are just sitting there watching the Kevin Hart special, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, kind of moving around a little bit, and I'm like, what? She's like, oh, I think it's just gas, because you gotta understand, Cam has an extremely high pain tolerance. Like she has an extremely high pain tolerance.
Yeah.
So she's just sitting there just kind of moving around. She's like, oh, I think it's just gas. Right? And I'm like, okay, so we're just laying there, no problem. We all go to bed. Her mother's in town because we know that at any moment she can have the baby.
Soon, yeah.
But we thinking like when she go into labor, like she gonna feel it.
Right.
Cam with her extremely. By the way, for those of you that watch football, my nickname for Cam is Bill Belichick.
Probably not good. It's probably not a good name.
Listen,
it's not
because Cam has the same affect on her face no matter what she's going through.
That's not a term of endearment, by the way.
Listen, I've had no other way but to put it.
I get it. I understand.
That way, the only way I could do that is because I spent the first 3 years of our marriage literally just asking her what's wrong. Because Cam has resting miserable face. Right? There's resting bitch face. and Cam, she'll tell you, is resting miserable face. It's just like her natural affect is just like. So I'm always
she has a mastery degree in stoicism.
She does, because her face doesn't change. Yeah. Doesn't matter which. She can be happy, sad, angry, like Bill Belichick. Just face doesn't change. So
Anyway,
that's relative to this story.
Women,
because
if you're listening to this podcast, don't at Steve.
Listen,
I'll give you his email though. So
listen,
he really wants it.
My wife agrees with everything I'm saying right
guys,
now.
Guys, if you're listening,
we laugh
don't
about
call
it.
your girls Bill Belichick. This is not a good example this is an example of what not to do.
No. Listen, there's a lot of jokes in our house, but that is not one of them.
No.
That is real. So, which that actually is a really
and
good.
if she felt some sort of way about it, you wouldn't know. You'd be like,
I wouldn't know.
Just be like,
I wouldn't know until she told me. So we all go to bed, and it's about 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. I wake up for whatever reason, and I look up, and Cam is sitting up, and I was like, "What's wrong?" She was just like, something is really starting to hurt. And I was like, "Are you going into labor?" She's like, "No, I don't think so." She's like, "But I'm going to time in between what I'm feeling just to see if maybe it might be contractions."
Yeah.
So she starts timing it, and I was like, she's like, "You just go back to sleep." And I was like, "I'm not going back to sleep. There's no way I'm going back to sleep right now. Like you possibly are going into labor." And so she's timing it, and then she's looking up what it means to go into, like, how does this feel? And she's like, "That's everything I'm kind of feeling right now." And she's like, "I'm just gonna like let it be." And so she's just like timing it. And I'm up at this point. Like, I'm just up because I'm like, is this it? Is this what we're about to do? And she's like, literally just as calm as can be. Maybe we should go to the hospital. And so she just gets up, starts packing stuff and moving stuff. And
well, you didn't have like the bug out bag ready.
We did,
to go?
but she's just like, just preparing everything. She goes into the room where her mom is, and she just politely wakes her mom up. She's like, Mom, time to get up. We're going to go to the hospital now. Like, super calm, right? And I'm thinking it's not really a big deal because she's not showing any type of,
right, yeah,
pain or whatnot, right? Other than whatever discomfort
and did
she's saying.
Like her water break or
nothing,
any of that?
none of that
stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Her mom gets up. Me and her mom are just like, "Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is it. Oh my God."
Somebody has to be
right.
Like,
we're just, oh my God. And Cam is just like, la, 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 la. Hey, don't forget this. Da, 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 da. She's just in la la land. We get in the car. And of course, it's an awkward moment. And I try to crack a joke. And Cam goes, she just kind of looks at me and says, "Wrong time for jokes." She's like, yeah.
Okay, what was the joke?
I can't even remember. I can't remember what it was. But we're on that. We're text the doctor.
Now, me and everyone else is like, okay, well, we got to figure out what this.
I got to. Cam knows it. Cam knows it. But we're on our way, and she's like, "We should text the doctor." And so I text the doctor, "Hey, it's coochie camping time," right? That's a joke between us and our doctor. So we're like, "Hey, it's coochie camping time."
Yeah.
Right? And so he's like, "Okay, meet you at the hospital." So we get to the hospital.
And this is like what time?
This is probably like 5:30, 6 a.m. at this point, right? So we get to the hospital. I think it's like 6 a.m. And they, we check her in or whatnot, and we get into the room where like they start testing her dilation or whatever. Cam is calm, and we had this group text because there was a bunch of people that wanted to know when she went into labor, and so I put in the group text, "Hey, Cam's going into labor."
No, that's not what you put in the group text. What did I put? Because I'm on that group text, and it was some football reference.
Oh, yeah.
It was some football reference. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Do you remember?
Again,
because I'm
known for cracking jokes in awkward moments.
And I'm confused because there was football going on.
Yeah.
I think we're in the playoffs or
something like that.
And it was like,
yeah, it was the playoffs, like, because I was excited. That was when she gave birth.
Yeah.
That was when she gave birth.
But it was confusing because
right.
it wasn't plain simple English.
My point is, no, I think I said something. We're on our way to the hospital, something like that.
Yeah,
it's 5:30 in the morning, or whatever.
Kickoff. It might have been kickoff, or something like that. We're like,
first person to call is Steve Hardison. Like immediately, Steve Hardison is just like on the phone.
Yeah,
I didn't get the text out, but 2 seconds. Steve Hardison on the phone, right? And, congratulating us and this, that, and the other, asking Cam how she feels and whatnot. And Cam is just as calm. She on Facebook. She just chilling, right? This is the reason why I'm telling this. Because then the nurse comes in to check her dilation.
Mm-hmm.
And she finds out what Cam is, and she has this awkward look on her, this crazy look on her face, and she leaves.
And that's concerning,
right?
Because you don't know what that means, or she's not saying.
So anything. She leaves. Another nurse comes in and goes, "Everyone in here is slightly impressed, but also scared of you right now, Cam." And she goes, "You're 7 centimeters dilated. How are you this calm?" Like Cam is just like, la la la. She's like, most women at this point would be in here screaming.
Right.
Like, and Cam is just la 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 la. I told you. I don't. Her level of pain tolerance is out of this world.
Yeah.
Right. So they're like, yeah, you're in labor, but Cam's face doesn't show that she's in labor.
Right.
It wasn't until about I would say 8:00, her water breaks. So she starts going into then she starts feeling it.
Yeah.
And once she starts feeling it, I've never seen Cam in this amount of pain.
Bill left the building.
Ever. Bill left the building. Like she's in this oh my God mode.
Yeah.
But doesn't want an epidural. She doesn't want drugs. She wants to do it naturally.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Well, she's that far by the time an epidural comes, it's not even going to be.
Wouldn't have even done anything, right? And so she's like really feeling it. She's on all fours. She's, she goes through these rounds of screaming or whatever, right? And I'm feeling really bad. Because I've never seen Cam in this much pain before, right?
Right, and there's
nothing I can do.
You can do,
right?
Yeah.
And her mom captures some beautiful pictures of me trying to console Cam and hugging her, doing as much as I can. But then once her water broke, right? She's just like, something's coming out of me, right? Like, and we look, and it's just wet. Right, and I'm like, oh, her water broke.
The amniotic fluid.
Yeah, all that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm squeamish. There's a reason why I didn't become a doctor or anything
and
medical.
You wanted to be on the other side.
And I wanted to be on the other side. Y'all gonna think I'm trash, but when I saw it, I was just like, I see it and I'm just, oh God, oh God. Oh God. Right? So the doctor comes in and he's like, this baby's coming right now. Right? And so she turns over, she gets in a position, and I'm like, where's the fucking sheet? Where's the sheet? I don't want to see this. Where's the sheet? And
they're like, we haven't done sheets until
Doc goes, he takes his little 2 fingers and he's like, I'm gonna see where the baby's at. And so he sticks his 2 fingers in there and it goes literally less than a fingernail, the bed of a fingernail inside. He goes, oh no, the head's right here. She's coming right now. She's here. Like she's literally, I can see her head. Right.
And then he says, you want to see it?
Right. Because Cam is like, because they're like, okay, Cam, you can get ready to push. And Cam is just like, I don't need to. Like, she's just coming. Like Kaya was making her way, right? She didn't need Cam's help, nothing. She's just making her way. And so he's like, all right, the baby's here. I'm still like, where's the fucking sheet? Like, where's the sheet?
It's like, wait, it's happening too fast.
And he tells Cam, he's just like, 2 pushes and you're done.
Wow.
So Cam pushes, and all of a sudden, it's like watching a car wreck, because it's like,
no, you can't not watch.
I can't not watch.
Yeah.
But the whole time I'm just like, the whole time I'm watching, I'm just like, this is a miracle. Like, and so the baby's coming, and so all of a sudden I see hair. I'm like, oh snap. And then it's like her vagina just opens up, and I'm just like, this is not right. Like, what? This is not right. And then a whole head. I just see a head just kind of like, boop, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, all right, one more push. And I'm still, it's happening so fast. I'm still just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is happening?
Well, you bypassed the part where the doctor asked you to hold the leg.
Oh yeah. So and
Which is how you ended up in that
right. That's what it was.
In the first place.
Yeah, that's what it was. He was just like she goes. He tells her to push. That's what it was. He tells her to push. She's like, Steve, hold her leg. And I'm like, okay, but I'm just like, now I'm front row. So now it's train wreck. I mean, can't not watch. But also like, oh my god. And so next thing you know, he tells her to push one more time, and then the whole body comes out. So it was just like, 1 push, head, 2 push, whole body. And I'm just like, what the hell just happened? Like, it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
And then he's like, do you want to cut the umbilical cord? And I'm like, yeah. Like, so then he's like, touch it. And I'm like, really? And so I touch it, and I was just like, it's rubbery.
Yeah.
Why does it feel like this? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so I cut it, which, again, I'm like, ew. And so, but then they wanted to hand the baby to me, and I'm like, but it's got a lot of soot. Like, what is all the soot? I was just like, it's too much soot. What is, you gonna wipe it off first? Like, it's got cheese on it. What is? There's all the Parmesan cheese on this baby.
Wow.
And so, anyway, they do the whole skin to skin, and I'm just, and it just, it's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's like over and done, and trust me, we are grateful that it happened all that fast.
Yeah.
But then here's the funniest part.
I don't think you could have handled it if it was like all day long.
No. Oh no.
You would have been yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful. But the funniest part is about 45 minutes to an hour later, Cam is back on her phone posting videos for her clients. Wow. She's like, all right, so what do we do else for the rest of the day? I'm like, you just gave birth. She's like, yeah. And yeah. And I'm just like, you're scary, woman. I have no idea how you just did all of that. And I was just like, okay, I'm posting videos for my clients now. Like, back to work.
Wow.
Like, that's Cam.
Yeah, that's amazing.
She is absolutely incredible.
Yep.
And man. And
but how did you feel?
Oh,
how did you feel when they first handed the clean version of Kaya to you?
She still had the soot on her, but she was wrapped up.
Yeah.
And when I held her, which is the moment that Matt Clemmer captured, it's hard to describe because, one, this intense amount of responsibility just came over me. Right? But two, I've never experienced love like that. And it was just like, is this how my father feels about me?
Ooh. Yeah, that's good.
Ooh. Because I'll be honest, it's really hard to imagine anything other than love and abundance and forgiveness. And this is just me. It's if this is how my father loves me, the way I love her right now in this moment. And it's funny too because I remember Ryan Reynolds, one of my favorite actors. Love that guy. He did a talk show, and I forget. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, one of those guys, one of those circuits. And he goes,
"Yeah, actually, I think it was on the Late Show with
it might have been a Late Show,
Jimmy Fallon."
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon. And he goes, and I felt this exact way because I saw this way months before, like maybe even a year before Kai was born. But he said, I thought I loved my wife. I would take a bullet for my wife. But when my daughter was born, I would push my wife in front of a bullet to protect my daughter, right?
Also not a good example.
But
welcome to the Relationship Podcast.
Right.
With your coach, Steve Bacon and P.O.B.
So I was like, it's really hard to imagine if this is how my father loves me, a vengeful God that just wants to punish me.
Yeah.
It's really hard to imagine because I can't imagine with the amount of intense love that I feel for my daughter, putting her in a barbecue pit and watching her scream.
Right.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah. What's interesting is because I've had that experience 3 times. And the first time that the nurse came, because like Judy had an episiotomy and there's some different things that transpired. And though it was relatively easy birth, they took him, cleaned him up. And then when they brought him back in, I remember sitting in the chair and they held it. Then I held him for the first time and I just bawled.
Yeah.
I just bawled because of the miraculous thing that just transpired. And I understood for the first time a degree of love that I had never experienced before. And what's an interesting thing that you made a similar jump from that to how God feels about you.
It was instant.
And that was the same experience that I had. And for a moment, it was a glimpse, right? In Isaiah 6, it talks about there's a glimpse, like, and it's almost like looking through the peephole in the front door, where, you can kind of see the picture and you can kind of see what's going on, but you don't see the whole picture.
Right.
Like you don't get to see everything or experience everything. And at that moment, it was like looking through a peephole into God's heart of, oh, right. It was a revelation of, this is a degree of love that I've not known before. And it's just an interesting observation that I have talking to people that have gone through that experience, and that's the first connection that they make.
I love that because, as the created, right? It's not possible for the created to be better than the creator, right? And I'm mentioning that because my level of emotional intelligence as the created is not greater than the level of emotional intelligence as the creator.
Yeah.
My level of love is not greater as the created as it is as the creator. Right?
Yeah.
Kaya can't love me more than I love her. Woo. 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 That's not possible. She can't love me more than I love her. That is not possible. I can't love God more than he loves me. That's not possible. Because as the created, I don't understand the level of love the creator has.
Right.
So I'm sharing that because if I have this level of emotional intelligence towards my fellow brothers and sisters, that I can love them through their pain, that I can forgive them in spite of whatever transgressions they may have, whatever.
Past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. No matter what they've done to me, they've robbed me,
Right.
stabbed me, hurt me, did anything, murdered one of my loved ones. But to have that level of love to forgive them, to have that level of wisdom, to love them in spite of, to know that they are either extending love to me or crying out for help. I can't be more emotionally intelligent than my creator as the created.
Yeah.
So that's why when religion pushes this idea of vengeful, jealous, punish you, this, that, and the other, I'm like, but I'm not that way. And I can't be more emotionally intelligent and loving as the created than the creator.
That's an interesting distinction.
So that makes no sense to me. I cannot be more loving than the one who created me. So if I have this level of tolerance and love and empathy and patience, then what level of love, empathy, and patience does my Father have?
Yeah, it makes me think about the story of the prodigal son, right? And many of us have heard that, and in different forms and variations thereof. But the father in that story, which a lot of times we make the association to God being the father in the story. And we either identify with the prodigal son or we identify with the older brother, right? And the thing that really hits me about that story, especially in this space that I'm in, and how it relates to what we're talking about, is the prodigal son asked for the inheritance before the father had passed, which, if anybody knows anything about inheritance, that's not how it works. However, he said yes, wrote the check, knowing what he was going to do, and let him go. Now, in our human wisdom, no dad is going to do that.
Right.
No dad is going to give him the check, number one. No dad is going to let them go and have the freedom of choice to go ruin their life. But in the spirit of what you just said, the emotional intelligence and depth of love, in the context of that story, that's a degree of love that we don't understand.
No. And a good degree of strategy.
The human intelligence or the human wisdom doesn't do that. We don't do that.
No. Yeah, I was having lunch with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about taxes and business, right? And there was this guy visiting from Canada, and wealthy investor, and he asked me about being from the Bay Area. And he's like, how long ago did you move to Phoenix? And I was like, about 3 years ago. And I said, and I'm glad too, because every time I go back home to the Bay, like it's just getting worse and worse, right? Like the degree of crime happening in the Bay Area right now is just on an unbelievable scale because it's like a free for all.
Yeah.
Right? Like people robbing people in broad daylight. I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah,
right?
I've seen videos, but you never know how true. Like it's like
a friend of mine just posted that his Tesla. Yeah,
stuff.
he just posted that his Tesla a week ago. He went into work, came out, his Tesla in broad daylight was sitting on bricks. They took his wheels.
Wow.
In broad daylight. So because for whatever reason, Oakland police, San Francisco police are hands off, right? And so I was sharing this with my friend, and the other gentleman that was with us, he goes, oh yeah, it's a land grab. And I go, what? He says, it's a land grab. He says, that carte blanche, like do whatever you want. He's like, that's going to stop like real soon. And I said, what do you mean? He said, because this is devious and brilliant, all in the same, like, and he goes, well, in order to get rid of, to grab the land that they need, because Oakland, they ain't going nowhere, right? Especially East Oakland. Like, that's where I grew up. Like, they ain't going nowhere. It's been generations of people there.
Yeah.
He says, but in order for them to grab the land, they need to encourage people to commit crimes.
All right, I'm
confused
now.
Watch, because it makes perfect sense. I let you get used to smashing grabs and doing whatever else you're doing of no consequence, right? Little to no consequence. Now you get so used to doing it that eventually I'm going to reverse this carte blanche, do whatever you want. And we're gonna crack down real hard. But you're not gonna be able to stop doing what you're doing because you're used to doing it. Because we've made it easy for you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just start locking everybody up. Well, guess what that leaves? Vacant homes, vacant land. And now, because you're all locked up, we can start taking your property.
Ah, interesting.
I was like, whoa. And then he told me about, something similar to that happened in Chicago. And they did it with an apartment building that, they couldn't get people to move out.
Mm-hmm.
So they just stopped sending services to that particular project.
So who has that kind of power and authority to tell the police department not to?
The city council. The city.
So are you saying the city is the one that's wanting to
get rid of all these folks so that tax dollars don't go to these, because they want to take the land. My point in sharing all that is these people are playing long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
These are 10, 15-year plans.
Mm-hmm.
So what looks like they're just letting the city go is really a long-term plan to get what they want in the end.
Mm. But it's
I'm bringing that up.
The question that I always ask when I hear that term, who's they, right? Who's the they?
Yo people. I'm just playing. But listen, I was going somewhere with that. Listen.
Here we go.
My point is, as devious as that plan is to remove people from their homes, right? To create these long-term strategies to get rid of poor people, whatever it is. We, as the created, are not better strategizers and long-term planners as the creator.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because, we've seen gentrification, right?
Yeah.
So, and not so because that's an insidious
Oh, absolutely.
way of describing gentrification. And gentrification is kind of that idea of we're going to raise the rates. People can't afford to stay there. We're going to buy out buildings and that kind of thing. We're going to refresh this whole area and transform look at what happened downtown LA with the whole the Nokia area and Staples Center and that whole area. And it's a lot that, these condos that are essentially right around the corner from Skid Row are worth millions of dollars. And it's like, well, how can they sell a condo for millions of dollars and it's in this really bad, seedy area?
Yeah.
Right? Hence gentrification. Though that seems a lot more dark and sinister of a plan. And thinking about that as the crime is allowed to proliferate, then the law-abiding citizens are going to exit because they don't want to be in an environment like that.
Well,
right. So it's not just locking people up. It's also the people that want a peaceful, safe, and secure community.
Sure.
They're going to leave.
Sure.
So now they're leaving.
But that doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't matter because they're taking that property too.
No. It doesn't matter because as the investor, if you decide to leave, I'm going to buy that house too.
Right.
And I'll just buy hundreds of thousands of them.
Yeah.
And now I own all the land.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you leave or not. If you leave, it's better.
That's part of the plan.
It's part of the plan.
That's part of the plan.
Push people out.
Yeah.
And then now once all that's happened, lock everybody else. And now I own all the land. My point in sharing that was not to get into the conversation of gentrification, but to understand that as great as strategizers as we can be as human beings, whether it's for a sinister plan or a kingdom plan, there are people who can think 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years down the road and have the patience enough to wait it out. Sometimes past their lifetime. We see this happen in, uber wealthy families.
Yeah.
Right? They have a plan for how their great grandchildren are going to live, even though that they're not going to get there. They are willing to set things up and wait 10, 15, 20 years for it to pay out.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Our Father operates the same way. And it's only because we live in this minute amount of time that we'll go, oh, God has forsaken us. God has forgotten about us.
Yeah. Well, and
historically,
I mean, there was a period of silence of 400 years where they thought the same thing.
Right? But 400 years to God is 4 seconds.
Or
right?
4 minutes or whatever.
4 milliseconds, whatever, right? Because our relationship to him is different. But imagine the children of Egypt in the 40 years of them roaming the desert. That seemed like an eternity to them, and God forgot about us.
Yeah.
But God's like, no, my time is not your time. This is an instant for me.
Yeah.
But it's 40 years for you. But I got a plan. And a lot of times we don't trust God's plan in the middle of the mess.
Right.
Because it's not happening on our timing. But God's timing is different.
And then
quantum physics. We can go to quantum physics.
Well, and full circle, right, to what we were talking about earlier. And I don't remember if it was before or after we pressed record, but it's that idea of who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life.
Exactly.
Right.
You were explaining that before we pressed record.
Yeah.
But that is 100%.
Yeah. And we fret and we stress and all of that constantly, and yet it's going to work out. It's going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Just not in your timing.
Right.
And, I want to share this before we, close out, to all of my dreamers out there, my entrepreneurs out there, the people who want to change the world. I need you to understand something. Just because God gave you the vision of what the world would look like when your mission is accomplished doesn't mean you're going to live to see it.
Ooh,
I need y'all to understand this.
That's a good one.
God gave Moses the not only the vision, but led him in the direction of Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
But then turned around and told him, you're never going to see it. And you need to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Your children will see it, but you won't.
Well,
Martin Luther King.
He got in a little bit of trouble for not obeying and then striking the rock, and that was the whole thing.
Right.
And so that might have had something to do with it.
But Martin Luther King, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been to the mountaintop. Yeah. I've seen the promised land.
Yeah.
I may not get there with you.
Yeah.
You have a vision. You have a purpose. You clearly see what the world would look like should your purpose come into fruition. But that doesn't mean you're going to be alive to see it, and you still need to remain faithful to it. Because God's timing is not your timing. And you may be sparking the flame that sets a blazing trail to the change that you see in the world. But that could take 100 years. That could take 200 years. That's going to take as long as it needs to take, but always know that's an instant to God, and it's an eternity for you, and you still need to remain faithful.
That's really good. That's really good. It reminds me of the passage that talks about, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. And the whole perspective of time and how we experience it versus how does God experience time. And largely he is outside the scope of time.
Exactly.
He's outside the scope of the box that we live in. And, as cliche as it is to get outside of the box, and everybody that's creative and visionaries want to do that, there is a box that you cannot get outside of. Right? And that's the framework of what our reality is. And I'm speaking in generality. We can dive into some quantum and meditation and all kinds of different things that gives us experience outside of that box. However, the box of the dimensional reality that we live in, and the framework of that, and the framework of the time-space continuum, those are things that we have to operate within.
Right.
So, but again, to your point, 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000 years. And I think we experience that to some degree. Right? Like even when we were on this trip recently, and we're hanging out, and it felt like a long time.
Yeah.
And it felt like, oh my gosh, we've been here for months.
Right.
But then there were moments where it felt like, gosh, this flew by like.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have that experience and go, oh, that's a little peephole glimpse of that different experience.
And Einstein made it very clear with the law of relativity of how that occurs for us.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, and that is a theory.
Right.
That is a theory. Right?
Right.
The theory of relativity.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother podcast talking
It
about,
is.
I mean, people dive into theories as if they're facts. And some of those, which I know there are many scientists that are pursuing, you know, with the CERN thing and the particle collider and in all the advancements in technology with the,
You know, I have
going to space and all of that.
I got the perfect idea for a guest for that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly. You know him too. And if anybody can break that down to an unbelievable level of explanation, it's Kadeem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pure scientist.
Yeah.
And loves the facts. And can articulate. Oh, we're going to have to bring him on.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to have to bring him on. That's going to be fun. But look, family, we enjoyed our time with you all today. And happy Sunday. And we love you. We wish nothing but the best for you. But understand that you are never forgotten. You are never forsaken. You could never truly understand how much your Father loves you and what he will do for you. Just accept it. Stop worrying and surrender and know that everything will be okay.
Wow, are you quoting Bob Marley right there? Don't worry about a thing.
I still haven't seen that movie. Anyway.
Because every little thing is going to be all right.
Take us out.
We take you out.
No. You know what? Fine. Episode's over. Goodbye.